This is someone's house, and I'm gonna go knock on the door and ask them if I can film their tree up closer and give them access to my YouTube channel so they know what happened to their tree. But as you can see, it's highly plasma fired, and it's got stuff growing out of it, like new growth. So let's go knock on the door and see if they want to know what happened to their tree. All right, he gave me permission, which is good because it says right there, you will be shot. Beware of dog. And he says, yeah, what happened? Because it just started on fire all by itself. I told him I want to take some pictures of your tree because I document this, and Jeff Snyder too on YouTube. And you can see what happened here because it's very bizarre. He's like, yeah, it just started on fire all by itself. I didn't want to have the camera rolling as I walked up and asked if I can film. But you can see how big this tree is, which indicates how deep down in the ground the roots go. And he had his kid right there by him, so I didn't want to like start talking freaky shit. Ain't she a beaut? How could I pass this by? I did almost pass it by. I hesitated and it put me another half mile down the road. So I walked up to his neighbor's house because the sign on front says, beware of dog trespassing, you're on camera. It says you will be shot. And so I didn't even dare walk up to the front door. I was like, I think I'm gonna go over to the neighbor's house. Look how thin this piece of wood is that it's left on the front. A finger width. Anyway, I'm not sure if that's really coming through. So I went to his neighbor's house and said, I want to film your neighbor's tree that burned. And she said, yeah, they're home. They're just kind of out and about in the yard and stuff. I said, so you don't think the dog will get me if I knock, right? She's like, nope, not if you knock. Dude had a bunch of tattoos. They look like Native American. They look like white guys, but maybe half native. They got a lot of bird feather motifs and stuff like that. Seems to indicate that, at least culturally, they identify with the Native American traditions. And so I knocked, and his kid answered the door. So I was like, I want to take some pictures of your trees. Your dad home? Like, yeah, Dad, someone at the door. Who is it? Who is it? Says he wants to take pictures of the tree. So you can see, now here's a good example of how you can see how thin this ridge is. That it's burnt out, unburnt on this side, highly burnt on this side. So now let's take some bigger. Back up a little ways. And it looks like it didn't kill the tree. This whole limb is sticking out from right there. See the unburnt strip? Do I have to point this shit out still? By the way, I'm gonna upload a video talking about what an international kidnapping insurance company does. No different than Tony and the boys saying you give us protection monies, we'll make sure your store doesn't burn down. Like James True says, if you're a family of vampires, the best thing for you to do is hire a vampire, or start a vampire hunting company. And the kidnappers, the kidnapping insurance policy agency that Matt started, interacts with the local tribes that are likely to do the kidnapping. Even pays them off. This guy's got an insurance policy, don't kidnap him, here's $1,000. Really? That's too easy. I wish everyone would just pay us to not kidnap them. You know who buys those kind of insurance policies? Private military contractors, Halliburton, Blackwater, that go over to these war zones. I could go drive truck right now in Iraq, Afghanistan. That's who buys those kind of insurance policies. And if you were a person who started up such a company, he makes it sound like he was part of some big insurance firm and he reached the top goals of the company, like he was competing with 50 other insurance agents in some big insurance firm. No, it's a small business started up by a few individuals. And the reason he doesn't talk about all the fascinating details that such an experience would leave you with is because it was all government contract work. That means it's under non-disclosure agreement. Otherwise, you'd have plenty of awesome stories to tell you, like just the variables that you have to factor in to a international kidnapping insurance policy. Where are you going? How many people? Okay, here's the terms and conditions. You don't leave your hotel room after 11 p.m., between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m., shit like that. This one guy ordered a kidnapping policy for his daughter that was going on vacation to Europe, and then he hired the local thugs to kidnap her so he could collect on the policy. If you don't see what kind of tomfoolery exists in that kind of industry, where the kidnapping insurance agents are communicating with the local tribes that'll end up kidnapping you, to prevent it. Just like the FBI has to infiltrate. There's a joke says, the only people left in the KKK are FBI. But they're doing it to infiltrate, you know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that because I got thinking, what the hell is an international human kidnapping insurance agent? What's the variables that go into such a policy? Just like when, your car insurance, they take in things like age, gender, all these things that increase or decrease risk. And give you a personalized policy based on the risk and terms and conditions. And if, I'm sorry ma'am, but your husband was out of his hotel room between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. and we simply cannot cover the policy. Who the hell would purchase that? Who the hell would run such an organization? Like I said, it's the same as Tony and the boys saying, give me protection monies and I'll make sure your building don't burn down. And you know why he never talks about it? Because it was all government contract work, security clearances, and non-disclosure agreements. And someone said, oh, I don't like drama. Drama? He's withholding this information from the large audience he has. So I'm just gonna put that to rest. Maybe I won't even make that next video. I think I've explained enough. And on the chalk body outline, expose of Matt from Quantum of Conscience, he says, Matt finally responded about being on Fox News and Alex Jones. And he said I'm low and pathetic and all this other stuff. And what he failed, this is Chalk's words, he failed to mention the insurance company he had was an international kidnapping insurance agency. Oh, he failed to mention that. He just said he worked as an insurance agent. Oh, you keep listening to them. You go ahead. He's the infiltrator from the military-industrial complex. And if you can't see that, then you're just going to keep listening to him. I mean, go ahead, listen to him. Just don't take anything he says seriously and recognize what he is and who he is and what he's doing and take it into context. Or don't. Or don't. Yeah, she's a beaut. I think dude's over here at his truck. I'm gonna go make sure he gets access to my YouTube page. I told him Jeff Snyder with the number 2 on the end on YouTube. And his kid's like, you're a YouTuber? I'm like, kinda, I'm just a truck driver. Anyway, I think we get the picture. As you can see, the inside up here is not burned. And I'm suspecting it's the same with that log up there. So some burned from the inside out. As you can see, this one sizzled the outside, but not the inside on this part. But over here, it just burns in weird ways. Sometimes it's inside out, sometimes it's outside in. And I'm gonna just cut this short because, I mean, what more is there to show you? He said a single tree caught on fire all by itself, as with all the other ones. Yeah, got plenty of video. Yeah, see you guys. And away we go. He was gonna leave while I was still here filming. Yeah, I got clear down the road like a half mile. I hesitated on that one. I was like, no, okay, let's do this. That's him taking off with his 2 kids. They're like, wow, you're a YouTuber? Okay, so I'm gonna just finish this right here and now and title this one, International Kidnapping Insurance Agent. Because it didn't occur to me until today. If what I'm telling you now occurred to me before today, I would have included it in the video yesterday. I haven't Googled it yet. What is, just Google International Kidnapping Insurance and see what comes up. I haven't done it yet. I was just thinking for myself. And I can see that that is an arm of the military-industrial complex that works hand in glove with the kidnappers, the local tribes. Yeah, we got to get in there and have someone communicate with them to reduce the risk. And they pay them off. And the kidnapper goes, well, you're gonna pay me $1,000 to not kidnap this guy? Man, if everyone would just pay me $1,000 a head, no one would have to get kidnapped. My dad worked for Lockheed Martin, Loral, and Ford Aerospace. And one of the policies, remember, private sector, just like Halliburton, Blackwater, these are the guys that would buy an insurance policy, a kidnapping insurance policy, before they go off to Iraq or Afghanistan. Whether they're holding a gun or driving a truck or doing whatever, cooking, doing laundry. I could drive right now in Iraq and Afghanistan, get the security clearances, take the training, and it makes big money because you're going to get shot at, and there's a good chance you're going to get kidnapped, especially if you take a wrong turn and get separated from the convoy. That's the kind of people that would purchase a international, I was going to say human trafficking, but that's essentially what it is, kidnapping insurance policy. What are the terms and conditions? Well, give you an example. My dad was not allowed to have a mortgage. He had to rent because having a mortgage created a security risk for extortion. So he rented an overpriced rental in California for like 15 years. He tells me that some of the places he went, they would carry sacrificial cash so that when the kidnappers come try to take you, you just hand them some cash and hope they go away. Because they called it the kidnapping express, where they would kidnap you, take you to the ATM, and make you pull out whatever the maximum withdrawal per day is, $500, $1,000, whatever it is. Hold you overnight, take you back to the ATM the next day, make you pull that same amount again, and then let you go. They call it the kidnapping express. It's an industry. And the same guys that sell you the insurance policy, protection money so your building don't burn down. My boys will stay here all night, make sure nobody burns down your building. But Gary down there, he didn't want our insurance policy. He thought he was gonna wing it. Look what happened to his building. If you don't see that there's a lot of tomfuckery that would go along with that type of business, and that someone would probably sell their soul along the way, when you're the middleman between the kidnappers and the client who's paying you to keep the kidnappers from kidnapping them because you're selling them an insurance policy. It's not so your wife and kids will collect. Look at our record. It's a stellar record. Not only do we pay out on every policy, we take the safety measures and get you through the process so you don't get kidnapped, so that we don't have to take out a policy. Wear your cap sideways, put a red lapel pin on, and we'll tell the guys, don't kidnap this guy, he's got a policy. Unless you find him out of his hotel room between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m., then he's open season, because that's not part of the terms and conditions. If you don't see the racketeering that goes on there in kidnapping insurance policy. So people that are involved in kidnapping don't find insurance fraud as a crime. That's like pulling the tags off your mattress where it says it's federal law, against federal law, to pull these tags off this mattress. And we're like, yeah, I'm really a criminal now, and you don't hesitate. People that are involved in kidnapping would not hesitate to take out insurance policies and commit insurance fraud. And the fact that Matt never tells you any stories from his days as an international kidnapping insurance agent is because it was all government contract work. Halliburton, Blackwater, national security, non-disclosure agreements, and he's from the military-industrial complex, infiltrating the truther community. And I hear people saying, oh, we shouldn't turn on each other. You should handle that with him personally, offline. You don't get it. This is the arena. You don't handle it outside the arena of information warfare. You handle it in the arena. Like James True said, I really like this analogy when he's talking about Pedro or Pablo or somebody who is an icon representative, a landmarker on the landscape within this arena, the battlefield of information warfare. He's a landmarker that you use as a reference point. And he created a witness cannon, put it in front of him, sat in front of it, sat down in the chair, put the blindfold on, smoked a cigarette, and said, let the shots fly. That's what you're doing when you create a YouTube page and put yourself out there. So for me to bear my witness and testimony in public, and people are like, oh, I'm not into drama, get the fuck out of here. Sun tunnel with 4 craft flying through it. Airborne aircraft carrier with multiple triangular craft parked at the end of runways. The black dot craft that I filmed myself in Pleasant Grove, that I also spotted, zoomed in on, and extracted and show you it's more than a black dot, in the one I took in Pleasant Grove, in the one Mr. MB3 was showing you over his shoulder in the Woodbury fire, saying, look, see it right there over my shoulder? It's a giant plume of smoke. Of course we can see it. He wasn't pointing at the smoke. Joe Imbreano caught one of these black dot craft over a military base in California. And the ones that I filmed in Pleasant Grove, I zoomed in on them, on the main one that's present the whole time, ran the contrast adjustments, and revealed something that looks like a bird with 2 wings and a body, and where the eagle's head comes up, there's a perfect circle where the eye should be. So we have black dot craft times 3. Mine, Joe Imbreano's, Mr. MB3's, and Gina Colvin Hill talked about black cubes invading, but whatever. Airborne aircraft carrier, sun tunnel, 4 craft transiting the sun tunnel. Black dot craft floating in the sky above Pleasant Grove that I filmed myself. In California that Joe Imbreano took, and in Arizona that MB3 took. Plasma fires. The portal in the cathedral, and I know you still have trouble recognizing that that is just as real as the plasma fires, but the portal in the cathedral, the moon tipped 90 degrees on its back. If you think I'm in this for drama, or that I'm saying the things that I say for dramatic effect, it is you who does enjoy drama. You don't recognize that the magnitude of what I'm presenting here cannot be overstated. Is it 1,000 times more important than anything he's presenting on his channel? More than that. 1,000,000 times? More than that. It cannot be overstated or over-exaggerated. So while he goes on about Kit Kat with a dash, if he presented one plasma fire to his large audience, the internet would really have to work overtime to keep it under wraps, like the magnet challenge. And you can do that, Matt. Don't include my name or my voice or anything. Just give them the truth. And say, just like Logic Before Authority did, he showed them the truth and said, I need you guys to go do some investigation. Use your magnets, send me the tapes and the video. You can tell your audience, look around you, see if this is really happening around you, because there's been this kind of video come out of 8 states, 9 states, that I filmed personally. Add to that Florida, Britain, it's around the world. Matt is sitting on that info. I know, absolutely, not in quotes, know with certainty, he has watched the plasma fire videos on my channel. Because of how obsessed he was with Vanessa, because after she covered some of the content of my channel, he shut up about her. I know that. When I tell people things that I know and they don't know what I know, because they don't know what I'm talking about, they think that I don't know what I'm talking about. We project our own personal experiences onto the world. If I haven't seen a UFO, then they don't exist and no one has. If I haven't seen a Sasquatch, they don't exist, no one has. If I can't see and understand and calculate and interpret the environment the way you are, then you can't either, and you're just making assumptions and jumping to conclusions, and it's all speculation. Because you don't know what I'm talking about, you think I don't know what I'm talking about. I've had to deal with this for a while. This is not about drama. This is about showing you that there is an intel agent in your midst and you don't even recognize it. And when it puts right in front of your face, international human kidnapping insurance company that he started himself. He didn't join some big firm, like a law firm, like an insurance firm that has locations all around the country in large high-rise towers and everyone works for the agency, but he implied it like that when he said, yeah, I worked for all these years of the company, reached the top sales, and acted like he reached all these mile markers of performance within the company as compared to his colleagues. And then he said, it ain't worth it, I'm gonna just go away. There's a reason he doesn't tell you it's kidnapping insurance. He could tell you a lot more, but he doesn't and he won't. And if you don't appreciate what I've shown you here, be gone with you. You want to say, oh, I'm above drama. I'm above drama. That is drama. You're virtue signaling. And if you don't recognize that what I'm doing here is a great work, and the magnitude of the content that I have provided on this channel cannot be overstated, and you instead prefer to say, oh, I don't like drama, we should be polite, we shouldn't turn on each other, when I'm showing you there's a fucking intel agent, provably, because in order to run a international kidnapping agency, that's exactly what it is. It's an international kidnapping agency, and the other arm is the International Kidnapping Insurance Agency, and they work hand in glove. I think I've said enough. I hope you get the point. If you don't, nothing else I could say would get through to you. You're welcome. Add to that Orion's Belt, the 3 stars, the 3 kings of Orion. A lot of people are noticing that the moon turns 90 degrees as it goes over. But once you recognize that Orion's Belt also turns 90 degrees as it goes over, you recognize it's not the moon or Orion's Belt, it's us. So let me give you another thought that occurred to me, that if 50 years ago Eisenhower made a deal to do experiments, you can take some of them, just tell us who you take an experiment on and give us the list of people you've abducted to do the DNA experiments and whatever. Because they said that if you make a deal with us, within 50 years, we will make the stars and the sun and the moon turn in the sky, and we will do a soft takeover of your world. It's a no-brainer. Of course we'll make that deal. But if it takes you longer than 50 years, deal's off. Right? You get 50 years, and after 50 years, the deal's off. Because if they can do all of that in 50 years, we didn't stand a chance to begin with. They could have done a hard takeover, but instead they made a deal to do a soft takeover. And the terms and conditions of that policy would be something like, okay, but you only have 50 years, and if you don't get it done within 50 years, deal's off. And if they can accomplish all of that in 50 years, a sun simulator, the moon, all of it, if they can accomplish that in 50 years, then we never stood a chance to begin with, so resistance would have been futile. That buys us 50 years, so long as we cooperate with them, to come up with a plan. The thought I had. I know I had a couple more thoughts I was going to share too, but let me collect my thoughts. Oh yeah! I would be remiss if I forgot to mention, as I have while I'm counting off these phenomenon that I've shown you, the microchip in my ear, my sister's ear, my ex-girlfriend, and my friend Dusty down the road. That means this is a widespread operation. Few more random thoughts just to throw in here. The Mandela affected Christian that's trying to process the changes and telling you still read the Bible. I think it was him that was saying Hebrew. Oh no, maybe it was It was extreme reality check. When I showed you how she's trying to pull the fence sitters back into the box, one of the ideas she posited is that Hebrew means humans. That's one of the ways that she's a truther out of the box thinking and reinterpreting, and she doesn't just take whatever spoon fed to her. She's figured out that Hebrew means humans. Oh, so now that there's as Reagan said, an external threat to unite us all, now we're all the special boys, not just God's chosen people. But now the special boys is humanity, because we have a new they, a new in-group and a new out-group. Hebrew now no longer just means God's little group of chosen people, the special boys. We're all Hebrew now, and they're the un-Hebrews. If in the Ash experiments, the controlled environment where all of the people were given a line, which line's longer? A, B, C, or D? And it was proven through these Ash experiments that people conform to the pressures of groupthink, like 40% of the time. Imagine when it's not a neutral environment with no threat, and it's just a simple thing about how long is a line, but a highly charged, polarized environment where people find a moral imperative to exterminate you. That peer pressure to groupthink conformity, to join the witch hunt, is going to be magnified and amplified exponentially compared to the controlled, sterile environment of a room where you have 10 people at a table and all you're asking them is how long is this line. And even in that environment where it really don't matter and there's no threat, people still conform to groupthink like 40% of the time, unless there's even just one other person that thinks for themselves and breaks the consensus of groupthink. If it happens 40% of the time in that environment, based on how long is this line, imagine what it's going to be like in this environment that I'm explaining to you, where it's not how long is this line, it's do you believe they're demonic, satanic, possessed fallen angels? Are you with us or with them? You're with us or you're with the terrorists? You're with us or you're with the reptilians? Are you a lizard lover, a reptilian sympathizer? Imagine how intense the groupthink and the pressure for conformity will be in that environment, because that environment isn't some hypothetical, far off, fictional figment of my imagination. That's the environment you live in, and it's going to be real hard to accept until you're face to face with it. But if you look at it, you can see it now, and you can prepare yourself for that pressure to conform that will come. Because it's going to be intense, unlike anything you've ever heard of or even imagined you would possibly live through. Another thing, the guy who said his, look, 180, the fan is on, and this is on, oh, it's on manual, my bad. There, the fan went off. But it keeps flipping on, even at 180. This isn't supposed to turn that fan on until this hits 210. That's water temperature. But oftentimes, it's turning the fan on while it's at 180. That means there's another sensor, temperature sensor in there, like maybe the oil temperature, that's kicking the fan on before the water goes. Sometimes they have an oil temperature gauge right here. I believe this truck has an oil temperature sensor that kicks on the fan, but it doesn't have a wire running up to the gauge to tell you exactly what the oil temperature is. There, it just kicked on again. Now we're talking, it's still on auto. See that? Manual up here, auto down there. It just kicked on while I was telling you about it. And it had only been off for 10 seconds. Since I flipped it from manual to auto, it turned off. 10 seconds later, it's turning back on, and it's still only at 180. And it's only 87 degrees. I have a point here. The guy, the two truckers that I explained in one of my last videos, who said his fan stayed on almost the whole way here, and he saw his transmission was riding hot, so he pulled over and checked it. He said, the gauge is telling me 250, but when I hit it with the laser thermometer, like they put to your forehead, it's telling me 230. Haven't quite made sense of that yet, but on this phone, so I can't show you right now until I transfer it to this phone, yesterday, before I even published that video, I texted with a guy in Pennsylvania who sent me pictures of plasma fire. He's the guy that showed you the bolts they're putting in that are a release valve. Those large lag bolts that they're putting in to the telephone poles are a release valve, so the electricity can come up and have somewhere to go back out into the atmosphere instead of cooking the pole from the inside out. He said he was cutting his grass, the lawnmower cut out, and he untwisted the cap and the fuel was boiling. I looked up on Google what's the boiling temperature of gasoline, and it says anywhere from 100 to 400 degrees. What is it? I understand there's variables in the mixture and the content and the makeup of gasoline. Another guy in the comment section, other people are starting to recognize it about their vehicle too. That's what I'm saying. So we'll probably just leave it at that for now. But instead of ending on that note, I want to end on the note about the peer pressure group conformity. People will feel a moral obligation to exterminate anyone that breaks the groupthink because they intuitively know if that guy starts thinking for himself and saying blasphemy, he might lead some of these other good Christians astray, so I'm going to save all their souls by exterminating and eradicating him. Anyone else want to be a lizard-loving reptilian sympathizer? Anyone? No? Okay. That witch hunt is coming. This isn't drama. This is reality. And that's just a deflection. That's virtue signaling. Oh, I'm above drama. Ride off on your moral high horse into your abyss. Because if you can't accept that what I'm showing you isn't about drama, it's about the future of humanity, and that's why people will feel their moral obligation. Because it's not about how long is this line, it's about the future of humanity, collectively, or their own individual eternity. And on that moral high horse, they will be capable of doing anything. People that are willing to believe absurdities, are capable of committing atrocities. These people believe absurdities. The beam in your eye, a fucking 4x4 coming out of your face. That's the basis upon which they're going to come slaughter you, and they're doing the good Lord's work. Because you're the seed of serpent, Cain, whatever other buzzwords. If you have to use buzzwords to explain what you're doing, if you truly know what you know, you can explain it in 10 different ways using 50 different combinations of words. If you find yourself using fallen angels, Luciferian, evil, you're fucked and you're going down with the ship. And that ship is sinking fast. So don't wait until the decision time comes to start thinking about these things real hard, about what you're really gonna do when that real imaginary scenario that I'm describing is at your doorstep. Because it's not imaginary and it's already at your doorstep. Good luck to you.